The market has changed. What are you going to do to make sure that next year is your best year? I got one of the best in the business. Heidi Harris with me today. She's going to talk to you about the 7 things she's doing that is ensuring that next year will be your best year. All right, Heidi, this is another one of those. Listen, every single time it seems like you and I get together, I get messages for months and months after that about how much value you bring. And so this is one of those where, as you and I were talking and just kind of getting an idea of what's going on with you, this is absolutely, thank you for sharing these things, because I think a lot of people are having those moments now where they're like, oh my gosh, the market has shifted. Now what do I do? And when you told me that, hey, I've really outlined this into 7 things I'm doing, I was like, that is so timely, not just for your business, but for everybody. So listen, before we even get started, in case someone doesn't know who you are, why don't you give them a little introduction on where you are, production, that kind of information.
Awesome. Jimmy, thank you so much for having me again. I just love doing this. It makes me so happy. I am Heidi Harris, based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. I run the Home Sweet Heidi team. And last year we had about 100 units closed and like 40 million in volume. This year, not as much, but we are chugging along and getting there. And the things that I'm going to share today, guys, are going to do nothing but give us so much gas in the engine to finish this year out. Go ahead, do the busy work to get this started, and then you're going to just take off towards the beginning of the year. So I'm super pumped to tell you about all the changes that I'm making right now.
Hey, Heidi, another good thing that I love about the way you run your business is that, yes, you do the daily activities and you focus on helping people today, but your vision is always out further. And so that's why when I like what we're going to talk about, these are things that don't just affect your business in the first quarter of 2023 or whenever, 3, 4, 5, 6 months from now. These are things that are going to set a foundation that will change your business going into years into advance. So let's get right on into it. Let's start. Perfect. How do you want to do this? You want to start with number 1, or I know you probably got your list. I'd love to just hear what's the first thing that you've got on your list.
The first thing that's on my list is the first thing I do every morning. And most Americans, when we wake up, we turn around, we look at our phone. And I normally get on like social media or, check my text messages or whatever. I go ahead, I get right on my mail app, and I unsubscribe from everything that came in the day prior that is just filling up my inbox. And I know that unsubscribing from emails, it's like, well, duh, of course, that's fine. But if y'all are anything like me, the past 2.5 years have just been chaos. And I've been going through my emails like crazy. And now I'm on all these lists that all that they're doing is cluttering my mind. And like when they come in, they're not giving me value. So I'm just going ahead and making sure that I'm unsubscribing from anything that doesn't give me value so I can start my day on the right foot.
This is really good. And this combines over time, where if you're doing this every morning, you wake up a month later, all of a sudden now you got 30 days worth. You've got 2 or 3 or 4 of these. You're synchronizing your data, your information that's coming into you. You're decluttering, so to speak, the opportunity you got. Man, I love that. Okay. Number 2, what are we talking about that you're doing number 2?
All right. Number 2 is I have all these lists of clients, just like most of us have. So I have a list of clients that have closed with us. I have a list of clients that I invite to our wine party. I have a list of clients that, have kids. So if we do something for kids, they get invited to that. Jimmy, I am embarrassed to tell you, but I feel like if I haven't had it, most people haven't. I made a master sphere of influence list. And this is first name, last name, spouse, first name, last name, address, and then different columns next to it. So if they are past clients, they get an X in that column. If they get invited to my wine party that I do every year where it's just for women, they get invited to that column. So it is all right there and perfectly done. I have their email addresses. I have their phone numbers. And if I don't have their email addresses or phone numbers, well, guess what? I can ask them.
That's
right. And then that way I'm just updating. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, look, I'm doing this thing. Would you mind sending me your email address? Oh, sure. People want to be invited to stuff. So I am embarrassed. I've been in this industry for almost 10 years and I've had all these mini lists and not one master list. So I'm excited to work on that. And to be honest, again, it took me a month and a half to get it all done.
Well, Heidi, this is really good too, because as you're talking about, we're talking about decluttering. Now we're talking about organization, which a lot of times as salespeople, this is one of the biggest weak areas that we have, because we're extroverts, or we're people that are with people, or we're constantly on the move and we don't have time to organize. What the little bit of quietness, I guess you could say, not necessarily, I mean, after going at 150 miles an hour, now we're at 80, it feels like you slowed down. You've got the time to really set the stage, build the foundational things. So listen, one of the things that we've done, speaking of the database and going along this line, is if someone does have that already organized, we're encouraging people to start at the beginning and go through and just check on people. And what we're doing now is we're taking that database that we may have had, especially people that have been in the business for a while, having that reconnection, and like you're saying, having some reason that we're calling, we're checking in, and we're then starting with a fresh database. So because things have changed in some of these folks. So as we're talking to them, we're updating the information. Also, if you've not had the opportunity to go in and absolutely do this, listen, even if you don't have these folks, take the time to do it. As we were talking about before, you and I have talked about this before, the value of your business, especially if you're thinking from an exit strategy at some point, is in that database. The better the database is organized, the more information you've got, the easier it is for you to sell that database or to transition someone into your business. So really good stuff. I love that. Love that. What's number 3, Heidi?
Well, also, if you have a CRM, go back, do all that in your CRM. If you don't, if you're not using like an Excel file, right? So like, if you say, well, I don't have that, but I have it all organized this way, whatever your way is, use it and implement it. Third thing, Jimmy, I pledge allegiance, and I pledge allegiance to Homebot. If you guys are not familiar with what Homebot is, holy smokes, they should be Homebot. If you're watching this, I will accept a sponsorship. No problem at all. I signed up for Homebot in, the Explosion conference that Vince leads in August. I was up there and they had a table. I had heard about them. It was one of those things that I signed up for a free trial. I never even logged in. Like, it was one of those things that I meant to do. But guess what? I was so busy, I never made time for it.
Right.
So I went ahead, and this is where the whole sphere of influence list came in, is I needed it to get started on Homebot. So they will go ahead and send you exactly what you need. As far as like information, phone number, email, names, all that stuff. So that's what we used for our sphere of influence list, was what Homebot gave us. And then we imported it in Homebot. Y'all, I started this a week and a half ago on a Friday. Within 5 days, I got 6 listing appointments. 6 listing appointments. I've got the new boyfriend feeling about it. I'm so excited. And I think that it's really good timing for all of us anyway, because if anybody's watching the news, they're hearing how much their values are tanking. And then if you're that normal Joe where you're hearing that your home values are tanking, and then you get something from Homebot, it's like, oh, that's good. That's interesting. So it's a really great time to go ahead and get started on that right now. And I really feel like that is what is making this so successful with these listing appointments, is people were feeling uncertainty, and then we helped with the certainty.
All right, so let me give everybody, in case you're wondering, what is Homebot? Let me give you a little background. It's absolutely.
I get so excited.
No, this is really good. So Homebot is basically, think of it this way. If you have a brokerage account, with a stockbroker or someone like that, they send you a monthly report that really gives you the valuation of your asset. It talks about your cost basis. It talks about the implied value as far as profit margin that you have, or your equity that you have in those investments. It talks about, could you borrow against those assets, and what could you do with that? It really gives you a full view of what the asset's value is and what you could do with it. Think of it this way. Homebot is the most complete that I've ever seen, where it absolutely comes with a automated valuation, electronic valuation, but it's all branded to you. This is a monthly email that goes out, and it has a one-click button that says, would you like someone to get you a more personalized update on the valuation? They click one button, it tells you. It also breaks down the equity they have. It has 100 data points, so it comes in and it figures out how much their mortgage was. If based on a 30-year loan and what their rate was, how much did they pay down? How much equity did they have? Could they take out a cash out refinance and buy another property? Could they use a HELOC loan? What is the asset? What is the full picture of the asset and the valuation to their full financial picture. One of the things that's been great for us as we've used it is 70% open rate on these things.
Mhm.
And the reason being is because the value is there. So, and the back end, I don't know if you've even gotten into this yet, it lets you know when they've opened. It lets you know what they've done. If they've taken their valuation, they've said, oh, we added a bathroom, and they do that to see if that affects their valuation. It tells you that they did that. So you constantly have the ability to understand who's working with this. And as you said, Heidi, it's one of the best ways to stay consistent with the value add to homeowners, which, as we know, is the name of the game, is those listings. So anyway, you want to add anything to that, or is that explain?
I'm just freaking impressed that you just said all that off the top of your head, because you didn't even know I was going to say Homebot, and you're just like, oh, let me tell you about it. So that was amazing. If you do not have a CRM, this is a great place to start, because you can see who's on your hot list by those notifications that you get of who's going in and playing with it and whatever. So it has been, and it's cheap.
Yeah, it is dirt cheap.
If somebody's watching this, they want to take one thing away, I'd say that's where you start if you're not already on it.
Absolutely. All right. So that's number 3 is Homebot. Number 4.
I started coaching.
There it is. The anti-coach agent has humbled herself.
I've humbled myself.
And let me ask you this initially, because this is something that you've thought for years.
Years. I mean, how many conversations have I had on the phone with you where I'm like, I want to do this, but I feel like coaches are like losers. They couldn't do it themselves. So then they're doing this instead. And you're like, Heidi, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. And I was like, what is Jimmy now?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So let's talk about this. How long have you been involved with the coach now?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. How have those first 3 weeks gone? And what is your opinion of it now?
So my friend Molly Slagle, who's a realtor in Houston, Texas, she also does coaching. And she was like, here's what I like most about coaching for you, Heidi, is you're going to hate the first 3 months because you've never been accountable for anything. And they're going to make you like do all this busy work so that you can make sure that everything, like the coach knows what's going on, you know what's going on, everything's automated and ready to go. So I told Molly, it might've been yesterday, I was like, you're right, this is a lot of work. Cause it's stuff about like just getting, like, Jimmy, you know that we do that pie giveaway right before Thanksgiving, right? But it's like, okay, well, tell me more about that. And it's all the little steps to do it. So it's a lot of that kind of busy. It's not like bad busy work. It's just like communicating and getting it all out and like really thinking about every single step. But also my coach was like, number one thing that you're going to do is you got to change it up here. And you've got to make sure that the way that you are leading and the way that you are doing your business is consistent, and it all starts in your brain. So he's like, we got to get your head right first, and, you know, blah, 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 and started giving me all these steps. So it has been the kick in the pants that I've needed. And I love it. Like I really, as much as I don't like the busy work, I'm really excited to get past the busy work so that I can get for like all the amazing things.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. Listen, I will say this. Anyone that will invest in coaching, and I call it an investment, not an expense. Anyone that invests in coaching, that leans in, has someone that holds them accountable, has someone that has done what they want to do, because I know your coach has already done what you're wanting to do. You know, and you need somebody that's not speaking from theory, but speaking from experience. Yep. I'll promise you, I've not talked to a single person that truly leans into coaching that doesn't see a 4 to 5 at a minimum X on their investment come back to them within 6 months. So I'm really excited, not just that you're in coaching now, because we've been talking about this for a long time. I'm really excited.
Not just that you're right and I'm wrong, but.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm really excited the fact that 6 months from now, the conversation and to see what's going to come out of this, I just know that I know what's going to come. So really good. All right. Number 5.
So this also goes into the whole coaching thing. Is my coach was like, okay, well, get me a P&L statement, profit and loss statement. And I was like, okay, cool. That's easy. So I just got him this Excel spreadsheet that I thought I was so savvy and smart. I sent it to him and he was like, why aren't you using QuickBooks? And I'm like, because QuickBooks is for like real businesses. Like, he's like, okay, well, guess what? You do run a real business. And I was like, well, yeah, but you know, so I invested in QuickBooks, guys. It's like $15 a month. And if you're reading this and you think, Heidi, you're such a ding dong, I can't believe that you didn't do this before. That's fine. I take it. I just always thought it was like additional busy work. I didn't know that they literally take your bank and your credit cards and they do so much work for you so that you don't have to do it. And then now I can look at my QuickBooks account and it within like 30 seconds know about my investments and if they're paying off or not.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to worry about my Excel spreadsheet with like all the random placements in it. It's just like black and white if I should do, XYZ marketing or not. So I got onboarded with QuickBooks on Monday. So this is all like, this is that busy work I'm talking about. So I'm getting it all set up and it's really amazing because it's really telling you if what you're doing for your business is working or not.
Yeah. And Heidi, this is something that, after using QuickBooks for 15 years or 10 or 12 years in my business, what was great is that I could then, this time next year, I could seasonally see what were my numbers so that I could compare. So the data gets better and better. The thing is, what you inspect, you can expect to get better. When you inspect your books, when you inspect your numbers, and when you take the time to truly understand what your profit and your loss is, you begin to evaluate every single one of those expenses and see if they're truly investments for their expenses. This is the time as we go into a market that's going to have less transactions. Number one thing you can do right now is make sure that you don't have any needless expenses. And QuickBooks does a great job of that. Listen, I didn't even know you did that. I'm so glad you did, because this is another one of those where now we're beginning to run a business. And everything we were talking about, and you and I were talking about this before we started recording this, is this is a time where with less transactions, we will have people coming out of the business. The true professionals are refining their businesses right now, not if, but when this thing takes back off, that they will have so much market share that it will be amazing what happens. Now, think about this. Think about let's going back into whether it's in the spring, whether it takes 2 years, whatever it takes. It's not a matter of whether we're in it. We're in this thing right now, So it's a matter of depth and duration as far as what's going to happen here. Either way, when you're coming in and you're clear and you're going in there and you're getting clarity on making sure that you're cleaning up the information that's coming to you. You've already talked about you're coming in there and you're setting up your database properly where you can market correctly to your group quickly and easily. You're systemizing your effectiveness with Homebot. You're going out there and having coaching that's preparing you for all of these things and a second set of eyes to make sure you're not missing anything. And now you're getting your numbers right, your money right. I mean, hey, listen, this is good stuff. Let's go on to number 6. I'm glad we didn't talk about this before because I wanted to really understand where your mind was as we went through it, and I'm getting more excited about it.
Yeah, cool. So number 6 is a morning walk. Which, remember, Jimmy, I told you, I was like, some of this stuff is going to be like, well, duh. But here, let me tell you what my morning walk has done for me, is it gives me quiet time just to myself, where I get to breathe in fresh air, enjoy God's creation, and listen to audiobooks. I don't read. Okay. I don't, it's not my thing. Okay. But I love an audiobook. And I feel like whenever I'm in the car, I'm always on the phone with a client or a friend. So I don't really get that quiet time. So I started reading a book, audiobook called Traction. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's great.
Oh,
yeah.
Y'all, if you are watching this and you want something that will change your life professionally, that's what Traction has done for me. Just to go through the timeline of how I used to think to how I'm thinking right now and how Traction has helped me do that is when I first started in real estate, I tracked all my numbers in millions sold. And then I was like, well, I don't really care that much about the millions sold. I should care more about the units sold, because focusing on units, that gives you impact. That's how you can make sure that that person has such a good experience that they tell more people, right? That's how you focus on growth. And really, you can't control somebody's budget anyway. So then I started focusing on units. And now I'm focusing on appointments, because the more appointments I have, the more units I'll sell, the more millions I'll have closed, the more money I'll make. But it all starts with the appointments. So now I'm tracking how many appointments I'm doing. Before, I was very reactive to my schedule. Now I'm being very proactive to my schedule, making sure that every week I'm having, X number of buyer appointments, X number of listing appointments. So it's been really amazing. The next one that I have on my wish list is called Rocket Fuel.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, see, you know all these things. You got them all right there in your bookshelf, I'm sure. But those have been ones that are just first things on my list. Now, if you are on a team, traction probably isn't going to be the best fit for you. Jimmy, you probably know ones that are going to be better than that. But if you're a team leader, traction is absolutely a game changer.
Another one, good one for team leaders, broker managers. I love this place. Clint Purvis, I think it's Purvis. I love this place. It is a great, because it really talks about what he did is he went in and he studied these places where they did thousands of these, where they just walked in randomly to companies and they said, hey, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Do you like working here? And they took all the people that said, I love this place. And they studied those companies to what was it culture-wise they did, to where everybody loved being there, which led to more productivity, which led to an environment that was pretty special. I know we got sidetracked there, but let me just say this about the morning walk. I'm with you. I've been doing this literally in the last 6 months, a little more in the morning. And, listen, I do it. I'm blessed to live close to the beach. I walk down to the beach and the sun's coming up. And it sets the pace for everything that day. I know that like Gino Blafari, he gets in his car and goes to a specific park and walks every morning. I think the morning walk really gives me the ability to collaborate my thoughts away from everything and everybody. Sometimes when I go to the gym, it's still, hey, how are you? And I get in these conversations. Yeah. I don't get that time to really think. So I love the idea of a morning walk to get you calibrated and give you the time to, listen a little bit more than just talking all the time when you're going. So really good stuff there. All right. 6. I can't wait to hear what number 7 is.
Okay. Number 7, me, Jimmy, we did the last one that we did was I don't buy leads, I buy lunch.
Right.
So I'm really just trying to be in front of people. So whether it is taking somebody to lunch or going to my kids' birthday party. Earlier today, I went to my daughter's field trip. She's in kindergarten. It was her first field trip. It was the cutest thing of all time. But being out in front of people, this time last year, I wouldn't have had time to go to a field trip, but making memories like that with my family, it really is it gives me such purpose, but also I'm there with other chaperones that are living right in my neighborhood. So it's a really great face-to-face, nose-to-nose, toes-to-toes way to be in front of people. Lunches, dinners, drink with girlfriends, whatever it is. My social calendar has revved up, which is awesome because it's good for me here, but also it's going to be good for me here in a few months too, right? Because everybody knows so many realtors. We just want to be top of mind. So it's a great way to be in front of people.
Yeah, this goes back to that. If you believe that this business is built on relationships, make building relationships your business, because ultimately right now, and I'm just going to go back. We literally had a sales meeting this morning where John, David, JD, and Hunter, who we were just talking to the agents because this company was literally started in 2007 in a time where there were limited transactions and everybody seemed to be really down on the business. But it was actually, this is the absolute best time to build a business. And what they focused on was building relationships, having a conversation that was authentic, being at those events. And out of that was the foundation that dug roots deep enough that tree just continued to grow into now what it is today. So, getting focused on people is ultimately what this is. I want to go back when you talked about, that you're focusing on literally and you're really focusing on counting your number of appointments. We even take it one step lower and we count conversations. We just go down to that if you have 50 conversations, real estate related, where somehow real estate comes up, that you're going to have one transaction on average. And so we just track that down to that core level, because then it's real easy to take those numbers. I'm going to just use this example. If the agent out there wants to do 24 transactions, just because it's easy for me, and we know 50 conversations we're going to need for each transaction, that's 1,200 conversations for the year. That's 100 a month. I mean, think about it. That's 25 a week. It's not that many, but how many times do we just go through reaction instead of leading? And so this is a way that we can really boil that down. And I bet you if we did this, we could figure out, hey, if I have 10 conversations, I get 1 appointment. If I get 5 appointments, I get 3 deals. Your numbers are going to be less than the typical, obviously, because of the experience. But I just think it's just critical to have something you're tracking that is easily trackable, that you have the data on. So listen, this is so good, Heidi, because ultimately, if you're going to not just survive, but thrive, in this new real estate market that we're in, which, let's be honest, is going to be challenging. There will be less transactions. I don't think anybody in the world is telling you that there's going to be more transactions next year than there were this year. So with that in mind, every transaction, every relationship is valuable, but ultimately this too shall pass. So what are you doing, not just to prepare to have a record year, because listen, there's going to be people, there will be people that will have their best year ever next year, no matter what the market's doing. Why not you? The way that you set that up is these very fundamental things that Heidi's talking about. It's just like making sure that your email is uncluttered, making sure that you got your database on lock and you've got that where you can communicate, making sure that you've got some communication that's systemized using something like Homebot for those sellers. Coaching, having somebody, whether it's in your own office, we do personal coaching here. We have mastermind groups. You and I are part of a couple mastermind groups, whatever it is, make sure you've got an extra set of eyes on your business. P&L statement, making sure you understand your profit and loss, concentrating on having some time to think. Morning walk is great for that. And then also just being in front of as many people and building as many relationships as you can. Heidi, this is exactly the recipe for success, not just now, but forevermore in real estate. So I can't thank you enough.
Well, hey, I'm happy to do it. And look, if you are not a team leader and you're like, okay, well, what book should I be reading or what should I be doing? Reach out to Jimmy. I'm sure he's got some awesome information. But
Absolutely.
First thing that I would do is go ahead and subscribe to Jimmy's YouTube channel to make sure that you are seeing what he's doing. He's putting out stuff every week that's so digestible, on point with everything that's going on in the market. So make sure you do that.
All right, and I got to give a tit for tat. So let's do this. If you're wondering how to build a social media platform as an agent that drives business, make sure you're following Heidi. Heidi, how would they find you? What's the best way to get in touch with you if they have a referral to go to Raleigh?
That would be awesome. They can email me at Heidi, that's HEIDI at homesweetheidi.com. So it's like home sweet home, but it's home sweet Heidi. Or you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube at home sweet Heidi.
That's good stuff. All right, I know you guys got some value out of this. Listen, take action, and I know you'll get results. Make sure you reach out to Heidi, let her know how much you appreciate all she gives back to this industry, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching the video. I specifically chose the video below for you because it builds on the one you just watched. I hope it's helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.